logic model is a simple representation of value creation inside an organization. It's the moment where the organization tells others what exactly is going on and why the organization exists. A well-written logic model is causal. It kind of gives a sense that there's a progression inside the organization leading from, on one end, the introduction of resources, and on the other end, the production of real social impact. So logic models have these 5 elements, and the 5 elements are the following. The first is this resource accounting of what are those inputs, those critical resources, labor, facilities, all the things an organization needs, from materials to board members to grants and contracts, all the critical resources necessary to carry out the work. The second basket in a logic model, second element of it, is a listing of the programmatic activities, all the work that goes on, the programs inside the organization that together make the organization what it is. Activities are not enough, though. Activities are done to produce real, measurable quantities of work. And so the third element is what we call outputs. And outputs are those counts, those things that you can count up and say these are the sum total of the work that goes on. Outputs typically include counts of the number of people who are served, the number of hours of service delivered, the number of programs, the number of communities reached. Anything that can be counted is an output. Outputs, though, don't tell us everything we want to know. They tell us how much work is done, but they don't tell us whether it makes a difference. And that's where we get to the next element of a logic model, which is the outcomes. Outcomes are the measurable changes in the clients or participants that we're working with. These are the observed movements in their condition. Outcomes can be short-term, they can be medium-term, they can be long-term. All of them are valid. Most organizations tend to focus on the shorter-term outcomes, but they play themselves out over duration. And finally, at the other end of a logic model are the social impacts that are created, the summative claim about why this all matters, what all this work, all this unit count, all these outcomes, what they all add up to is the social impact claim. So if you think about a logic model as a sequence, leading from inputs to activities to outputs to outcomes to impact, you have a sense of the storyboard of an organization, of why it exists and what it does. Now, why would you want to have a logic model? I think the argument is that logic models can be very powerful at different stages of an organization's work. On the front end, they can be the starting point for planning. They can a good logic model can tell an organization, well, here's what we're doing now, and these are the things that really matter, and these are the things we're going to work on in the future. And it can point you to those elements, those programmatic elements, those outputs and outcomes that really matter, and then planning becomes an exercise around how do we get more of these things, or how do we do them better, or how do we change the location of these things. But once you get into the work, logic models also can be valuable. Logic models can also tell you during the implementation phase whether or not you're on track. So checking back to a logic model can be a very valuable thing, and a way of ensuring that the program or project is on track. Beyond guiding implementation, there's also use of logic models, which is they can be a very powerful moment where an organization says, this is what we do, this is what it all adds up to, and it's a moment where people agree on the direction and purpose of the organization. It removes confusion about mission and direction, and it gets people on the same page. And there's another function also of logic models, which is they are a powerful tool for external communication. They can tell an organization's story to funders, to people outside, about why this work matters and why it should be supported. So all those uses, all those possible applications, they lead me to believe logic models are a powerful tool.